What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and thank you so much for stopping by on a Sunday evening, looking at some fantastic charts here, kind of seeing the NASDAQ and some of the futures kind of just ripping lower here. We're seeing here, looking at the NASDAQ at a 1 minute chart, which is something I don't recommend doing at all unless you are a very confident day trader, because this thing will will rip your head off on these emotions, ripping up and higher. So let's put this back onto more of a daily time frame of what we consistently look at, and just kind of go from there, looking at the futures, what could potentially look for, again, maybe some floor support, or what could happen in the next couple days, because right, it's definitely been very choppy. It's been a lot of just high volatility on people just trying to figure out what the hell's going on in the market. And if you're not already in the Discord, I highly recommend you just jump on over there. We have discussions about this quite often on the volatility, stocks, and maybe just having cash on hand or having dry powder or something that's not fully invested in the market. Is it a risk-on environment? I don't know. It just depends on what your time frame of trading is. On that fact, let's just scan it. We're looking here at the NASDAQ, which is /NQ. You can see here only down about 0.37%, which again, we were down, I think it was like 0.6 or something then at one point. So that was quite significant. And then we're getting into that lower level of that 15,600 range, which we saw previously about 2 weeks ago. We kind of had that stronger sell-off into that. Could that potentially be a double bottom? I don't know. Again, the patterns play out, and it's usually an after effect, so we just don't know what this is going to be called until it does happen, right? It's just more like a can't try to predict the future. So getting all the trusty pencil out again here. So we're going to be looking around this range here. That's going to be, let's be honestly, the easier bet. Potentially, if people are going to be looking at those two levels right here, potentially looking for some kind of bounce. It could be a dead cat bounce, which what a dead cat bounce basically means is the stock hits that level, bounces up maybe a couple percent, but then it then falls below that point and actually continues going down. So who knows what's going to happen? I think everyone knows, who's listening or watching knows, that no one in the market can predict the future. It's all about understanding the emotions and understanding the concepts, what's in front of you, and how it fits your trading plan or investing philosophies. These intraday moves are really shitty, and they are tough to kind of deal with, especially the last couple NASDAQ ones. It's been very deep red. There is a old, it's not an old saying, but an old prelude. Is that the right word, prelude? If you see 3 pretty significant red days like this, where you're not saying guaranteed for a bounce, but you potentially could see that that play come out, where we do see some buyers coming in trying to figure out the bottom. And you can see here at the same time, when we zoom in here on the bottom here, we've had higher than average volume the past 2 days, on the 16th and the 17th, of higher sellers. So that is something to look out for at those levels. We saw that here previously as well, just again that couple weeks ago. The moving averages, where could there be support? It's kind of broken past a lot. The 50 SMA, we're seeing some potential crossovers within the 8, the 21, potentially heading through the 34. That means that we could see continuously more sellings. But again, what are the moving averages derived from? The moving averages just derive from price and volume, right? So the price right now is lower. The one I'm a little bit more concerned around is the Russell, because again, this is touching into very significant levels that we've seen potentially before, these very, very low levels. If we do see it continuously kind of grinding lower here in the Russell 2000, whatever you want to call it, has been in a pretty steep downcline ever since like that November timeframe, when basically Manchin and the bill was like, we're probably not going to pass that $2 trillion, $3 trillion bill. So, but yeah, we'll see. What's up, man? Hey, there is SPY falling. What time does Santa Rally start? That's a good. So SPY is it falling? It's nothing looking like the Russell in my opinion. It is bouncing off this potentially 50 SMA, 55 EMA here, which is again those little white dotted lines there, and it's only down 0.5%. Again, the S&P 500 is a little bit more skewed towards the larger global market rather than the Russell 2000, which is mostly higher tied to banks and smaller enterprises within the borders of the United States. So looking at that, the SPY can it bounce? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see if that 155 holds. The one thing I do want to show is the kind of the grid that I use for trading during active hours. And then looking at especially SPY here at around 456 to around that 450 range. I know that's quite large range there. But that is a level where you're potentially looking for an easy support here around 456.55, and then potentially that 450 to 449 range to potentially be some levels of support. If we start seeing significant more selling and we're seeing very drastic red candles, like sharp daggers of red blood dripping through these ticks, I wouldn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And seeing these potentially just continuously selling lower, lower, and lower. I don't want to be on the other side of that trying to catch that falling knife, if you know what I mean. So Santa Rally, is it going to happen? I don't know. I hope so, right? Like I know a lot of people that are that were up significantly this year, but they were just getting crushed the last 2 or 3 months on stocks. A lot of the growth stocks. So if you look at like Tesla, that has come down substantially from that November high, and has come from that 1250 basically, and it's back to almost 900 again. That's it's something to be very interesting about, to see these very massive drops. Is this because Elon's selling? Is it because no? This is due to multiple of other factors, not just the GOAT or the man of the year selling his billions of dollars worth of shares. This is already something that's been baked up. This is again a very high growth stock, like you can see here. Do you guys remember Peloton? Look at this mother trucker. This thing, again, looking on a weekly chart, at the height of it, okay, into 2021, the beginning of 2021, this was $171. And it's now trading at $38, $40. That's insane, right? It has dropped substantially. What is the percentage basis on this? That's 78 to 80% drop in a year. All right. So this is like a stock that you'll see at the end of the year, maybe do people do a tax loss harvesting. So you'll see this potentially sell this into the year, and then they'll buy it January, the first week of trading. And then you might see that potentially bounce up because it's been a huge sell-off thing there. Kev T, what's up, my friend? Good to see you as well. Hope everyone is doing well out there. Again, thank you for spending your Sunday evening with me, or Sunday afternoon, depending on what time frame, or you're very late into the morning if you're in the EU. Depending if you're in Australia, happy Monday. So this again, look at these stocks I've been seeing. I'm trying to think, Zoom, right? Zoom, same kind of thing. This thing, beginning of 2022, it hit a high at 588 and has been seeing nothing but downward bumps. And you can see this, this trend line is, and we pointed that out way back when, it's this continuously going lower. Yes, it's getting a couple of bumps here and there, but it's not finding a secure footing, right? This thing is down basically 66%, all right? And 66% since its all-time high of last year, and basically down probably 40% just this year, and that's insane. Due to, yes, the crazy amount of growth. Does Zoom have a great product? Hell yes, it does. Is it better than GoToMeeting, WebEx, and all that other crappy software? Hell yeah, it is. But the stock has gotten way, 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 way far away from itself. Like that's the thing where with fundamentals and charting really kind of come together. Where like, yeah, they make a great ass product, but at the same note, it's been it's highly elevated, right? Things need to start coming back down to earth. Trying to think, what's another one that we saw completely blow up and just go crazy insane? Oliver says Elon's selling among with macro issues. Yeah, exactly. Like there's so many other issues going on. It's not just Elon is not the problem and why Tesla's going down or whatever reason, or he's tweeting silly memes or something like that. It's not. That's not the reason why things are coming down. I'm trying to think of another one that I remember trading quite a bit. NNDM. Do you remember that son of a gun? Look at this thing, right? This thing was $18 nearly. Now it's well below $4. Ugh, that's disgusting. What about space? Whew, that's been a ride there. Has anyone traded this one? It's definitely someone to look out for. It's like this one, space. I think I kind of. I'm not gonna say I like it, but I think if things continue going lower, I'm looking for some levels around 10-ish. Maybe kind of. I'm actually put these alerts out real fast before I do this. So that's just been creamed. That's just like literally just been taking its face and just skidding it across the sidewalk, and it just cannot get out of its own way and get up. Gomez's Futures is asking, SoFi buy the dip. So SoFi, I don't know how much you know about the fundamentals about it. So I own SoFi. I've been adding to the dips below like 15 for quite some time, and I added again around this range here. Let me grab the old trusty pencil. I added at this range here. Potentially, we'll see if I add at this range as well, depending on how much capital I have to look at. The way it's in my longer term account, so it's something that I have to trade to. Like if I have X amount of cash available, I take a small percentage of that and I break it up among different investments, and I want to make sure I'm diversified and not going too heavy because I own quite a bit of the other bank stocks. But XLF, I kind of do like the idea here due to student loans. I don't know if you knew this. Student loans are going to be coming back online, and student loans is a very large percentage of SoFi business. Like that's going to be kind of like a thing that's been missing out of their revenue for quite some time, and that's why they've been missing on their earnings per share on a GAAP basis for each past 2 quarters. This can go lower. Yes, it can. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say this is the bottom here, but we have seen this level potentially hold a number of times. So history doesn't completely always fully repeat. It kind of rhymes. So this is what we're going to be looking for potentially to kind of hold around that 1439 to 1450 range, and potentially can see again keeping on a very short leash if you're just starting to build a position. Since I've had a position in this here, and majority of it's around like $11.50 or $12, I think. So I do have a little bit more space to run before I start losing money in it. But I do think that it's not going to be, it's definitely going to get beaten up if the overall market continues to sell off. Like nothing's going to be invincible. Besides Costco, love you Costco. That's been a monster, right? Going at these two, those are again highlighting those levels there. You're welcome, my friend. Again, I highly recommend listening to the conference calls, and there is quite a bit of SoFi does a pretty good job on like having their not analysts but their CEO, CFO do a lot of these tech conferences, and they talk about a lot about their business. And then the one that kind of got me from SoFi to the next one is Affirm. Affirm has kind of been selling off a little bit too aggressively for my taste here. Sadly, I had to cut losses on this one. Again, keeping it at a very small percentage loss or a small loss. That again, if I continue to want to hold this, I would just want to feel the pain all the way down. That's not the way my small little brain, my small pea brain works, that I just want to hold on to that pain. I'd rather just cut it for a small loss and then potentially set up some alerts for some re-entries here, looking at this at these levels here. While we can do that, we're just going to be, so what we're looking at here as at the Fibonacci retracement. I do want to do this perfect setup here because it does it very well. It's the Fibonacci extensions from this previous swing high to the low and then the all-time high. We're looking for, again, that 97.75, potentially a level of support here, and then a breakout range would be around 114 plus. But remember, if the market does tank this coming week or whenever, I don't know when it's going to go lower or higher, it will take everything with the market with it. Imagine it being like a very large ocean and the tides go in and out, right? It doesn't matter if your boat's the size of a mega yacht like Jeff Bezos's, or it's a small little whaler that my grandfather owns or whatever. Like it's just gonna take, each boat's gonna sink with the tide, right? If that makes any sense. If anyone, I don't know many sports analogies, so I just kind of stick to things that I know about. I know a little bit about how tides work. Thanks to my third or second grade teacher, Miss Kowalski. Hope you're doing well. On that, so that's going to be looking at that. Some of the other high flyers that people have talked about quite a bit is AMD and of course NVIDIA. Yeah, right. These have been super high flyers. Again, for content, we're looking at the weekly chart. So if we look at the daily chart, it's going to be a little bit more volatile here. Especially with NVIDIA, this thing has been knocking on heaven's door here for quite some time here. It's been very highly elevated here. And we can look at that here. It's not the most convenient reading here, which is the RSI, which is the relative strength index. And usually something breaks above 80, it doesn't stay up there for that long. And it broke out at 80 basically at the 268 range. But then around that, when it got to like 300, it starts seeing a little bit of more weakness. And then ever since then, the RSI has been dropping off the shelf. This, for some chartists, believe that this is kind of like a foresight or a tell that things could be getting worse. So in this case, it did kind of work out here because it did come back down to some levels here. As you can see here on the previous time that it's did it was basically the summer of this year. It kind of got slightly above that 80 range here and then kind of sold off here a little bit, coming from basically that like 220 back down to like 180-ish. So in comparison, that's not too substantially crazy, but it is worth talking about because, again, if we talk about percentage basis, this is a move of 14%. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be pretty close to 14% as well. Actually, sorry, probably closer to 20. Yeah, it's 1988. So that's a good year. This is basically where we could see that potentially it's going further than that previous correction, but you can see that the RSI is continuously going lower. It's kind of like saying, hey, it's not overbought completely yet, but that is not this single indicator does not tell you to go all in. Trust me, do not do that on that single indicator. There's not a single indicator that makes you go all in. So just remember that. Yeah. Got any other questions out there, ladies and gentlemen? And if anyone from Costco is listening, please, I love your water, the Kirkland alkaline water, pH water, fantastic. Would love to be sponsored by you. I want to be the first person to be fully sponsored by Costco. Another stock, if you remember this one, this is a Chinese stock, Alibaba, or Alibaba, what I call it. This thing has been a fall from grace, and it basically, the chart itself tells a pretty nasty story here. Again, hitting an all-time high in December of last year at around 319, okay? And has been going consistently lower and lower and lower. And it's not, you can see here as well on the chart here, we're seeing it not really getting past the yellow line here. If it does get ticked up here, that yellow line is going to be that 21 EMA here. But again, we're looking at the weekly side, not the daily, a weekly. So that just kind of tells us a larger scale of what the story is. And again, charts tell stories. That's the way I look at it. Like this is like, This is just saying no one really wants to buy this. There are some buyers here at these dips here. That's why we're seeing these kind of moves up. A little bit of optimism, but those rallies are getting splashed with ice cold water and just regret on that front there, and not seeing that looking for. But yeah, interesting stuff without a doubt on that one. Another one that people have talked about as well is the old Roblox. Again, looking here on the weekly side, let me just kind of zoom in here on the daily side. Again, this was a newer IPO, super fantastic, went flying high to that 141-ish range, coming back down to earth again. A lot of these growth stocks, same kind of story. We're seeing these huge moves higher here, and then just coming right back down to earth because this hasn't been stable enough to see these like market moves here. The best one to look at is really ARK. Let's look at ARK at a weekly side. Let's go with the old pencil. We're actually going to get this color here. ARK has definitely been beaten up substantially here. Again, if you don't know, ARK is Cathie Wood, the Tesla. This person, they took their fund from basically $33 to around $160, okay, over the pandemic time frame. And the moral of the story is, which I think this tells the story the best, honestly, on the charting perspective, is like this correct. Oh my gosh, why is that so thick? That's what she said. This is something to tell here. Looking at those levels here, that this is the pandemic. This is the zombie outbreak here that everyone thought, and then that reaction from the bottom up. This has been just completely optimism, all this other kind of stuff. Oh, money grows on trees. We can do anything we want. Just continues going higher, higher, and higher and higher. But I think that's basically the story for 2020 to 2021-ish. The story for 2022, I think, is going to be coming back to reality and seeing on how things actually are. Like, yes, we had a really insane recovery here, but this has been maybe a little bit too much optimistic here, maybe. And it just has to kind of tighten the leash here a little bit and kind of pull back on the line and just kind of put people in check. And the market does put people in check very well. And how does the market put you in check? It corrects, right? Or it pulls back in the many cases. You can see here with SPY, we have been a super duper continuously amazing bull uptrend here, right? We have come back here again. We're looking here at the weekly side, okay? And we've come back to the yellow line multiple times. So that's around that 450 range for SPY. So about 10 points lower where we're currently kind of sitting at. That's going to be potentially looking for some level of support, plus or minus a couple percents there. And that's going to be somewhat of a tell here if we continuously see more aggressive selling coming in tomorrow, right? We just don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. It is during the Christmas week. So you will notice a little bit less liquidity and volume in the overall market due to the fact of most people are on break. It's usually the B or even the C teams trading at hedge funds, and they just have a short list of like, execute this, and this, or if this happens, call me ASAP kind of scenario. And looking at that, because again, yeah, there are retail investors and things like that, but they can't move the whole completely market, right? They can move the AMCs, the GMEs, and kind of do things like that, but that's just not going to be able to turn the whole tide of the market. On that fact. So again, what is the other one that I was thinking about? Where was it? Is it Microsoft? No, it wasn't. US, what's up, my friend? Can we look at AAL? Yes, American Airlines. That have definitely been beaten up. It's not been a fun ride with those at all. Again, looking here on the weekly side, if we can zoom in. I don't know what your time frame for trading is. We can look at the daily side. This is coming in to a little bit of support here around $16 here. But again, I want to zoom out to the weekly side to kind of show you where I'm getting these numbers from. That was that previous swing high to low here, but we can do this level here as well here. Coming into that low that we saw during the pandemic, and then the high that we saw here from the pandemic, we're coming into that 50 percentile move. It's not a Fibonacci number, but it is a key number. It is a little bit broken here because again, it broke past that support we had around $19-ish here, and it's just trying to find a floor support here. If we do get some more negative news on more countries closing down, like I think it was it Sweden or Dutch or who the hell was it? Someone's tightened their borders again. UK's doing more lockdowns as well, so this is definitely going to be hurting some of the stuff things, the airline stuff for sure, and again, unlimiting travel. The one thing that I still own Jets, and I'm just getting creamed in. I thought I had a stop loss on it. I didn't. I'm an idiot. Raise my hand. I think my stop loss was supposed to be at 21.75 or 21.70. Did not break that, and those call options just got obliterated. Anywho, these are definitely been beaten down here. I'm not saying this is a bottom here, but again, we've broken past that previous level support here, and now we're just trying to figure out where the next level of support's coming into. Again, looking on the weekly side, usually want to see this kind of hold tight for maybe 6 to 8 weeks. So we're only about 3.5, 4 weeks in. So with the Christmas Christmas season expiring, or not expiring, going into the new year, we potentially could get more optimism. But normally, if this Santa rally does not come into play, which some people on CNBC believe that's going to happen, that it was supposed to happen, that didn't. I don't know how they can predict the future. I would love to see a rally because I'm long a lot of things too, but things just don't work out like that at times. You just have to get ready to have anything come at you in the market. But if it does hold, we want to start seeing it kind of hold this level around 1927 here, honestly. If that does not hold, that potentially could create some more selling and coming back into that $17.50 to $18 range there. So Godspeed on those calls for you, my friend. But I definitely got slaughtered on those with really bad management on my behalf. Because again, Jets is about the same. I just use Jets because to be more broader like that. But I know Americans kind of the same thing. Again, that $17 range. If that does not hold, we could potentially see that go lower to that $16 to even $15 range where we saw some previous levels of support here. But yeah, just be very careful, and again, just get ready for any kind of move. Some positive, more optimistic stuff would like to see it back above 1928, or at least to that $20 range once again. So looking at that. Another one that I just got obliterated due to CEO, worker shortage, harassment kind of things is the old Activision Blizzard. They cannot get Overwatch 2 out, and that has ticked so many people off. I'm just joking on that front. And they remastered Grand Theft Auto, and it looks absolutely terrible. There's a couple modders that did a much 10 times better job than a whole dev team did. God bless them. But this thing has just been obliterated as well here. This is something I do not want to be touching with a 10-foot pole because, again, what does the story tell you on the weekly side? Maybe there could be a couple short-term trades here and maybe some bounces here, but this is not something to get ready to kind of buy in, to kind of look to add to those positions there, or start a longer-term holding in this at all for me. Let's scoop back over to the NASDAQ here. What's going on over there? We'll go into the daily chart here. The NASDAQ still kind of holding tight here on the futures, about down nearly 0.5% now. Still kind of like the what we saw previously. It did go down like 0.7 or nearly a 0.7%. This potentially could go lower here again. What we're looking for is if it starts breaking below 15,600, that could be some warning signs, especially coming into the early morning trading hours. We start seeing some selling off. Other couple things that I wanted to shout out and look at, of course, is my favorite. You know you love it. Costco get your Costco membership. Let's get your groove on. Costco has been a complete beast here. Again, listen on the daily chart here, right? Let's look at this at the weekly chart here. Bam! Look at that mamma jamma right there. That thing is a beauty. This is a very highly traded stock here. Again, it's very aggressive kind of pattern here. Is it elevated? Hell yes, it is. Is it gonna crash? I don't know. Do I own a lot of this? Yes, I do. Did sell a little bit late last week, and I did disclose that. I didn't disclose it because I have to. I did put that in the Discord, just talking about like, hey, just took a little bit of took a couple took a couple chips, a couple shekels off the plate because hitting that all-time high and never seeing the whole market kind of potentially kind of turn over. This one, it takes you just what's the philosophy? You don't want to be forced to sell. It kind of has to hurt to sell, like hurt to sell when it's up so much. That's the best way that I've seen being more on the profitable side of things. Kind of just going through a lot of my, Docusign, that's the one I was thinking about. This was the other one that I was talking about on the pandemic stock. This thing was, again, this one completely gangbusters, went from, I own this one at like $50 and I think I sold it at like 95 or 85 or something like that. And it just, again, of course, it just took off and went like literally went gangbusters, right? And it just took off, of course, due to the last quarter. God knows what was said there, but most likely, hey, things are slowing down. We have to bring in our reasonable costs. We're still making a boatload of money here, but this is not the same margins that we saw of late last year. And looking for that. Oh, what's up, Kefty? Hey, man, I'm hoping for the contagious as the Omicron thing is a significant mild made some positive catalysts. Yeah, I hope so too. Like, but you kind of like psychologically just think about it. Like, people fear. What's the word? I'm teaching a lot of philosophy tonight. Fear is a much larger component of why people sell rather than optimism. So people are going to be sell so much faster than they would buy, if that makes sense. So if any bad news comes out and they're just up a little bit, especially towards the end of the year, they're just going to take everything off the table and just potentially just do a massive, just sell everything ASAP, hit that button, just slam it. That's my only fear that I could see with the negative news on, I don't want to say it's negative news, it's just news, and that's just how people interpret it. Is that a word? Interpret it. That news. The market hopefully could take a positive that, hey, we've seen a lot of cases go up, but the hospitalization and death hasn't gone up at the same time. So looking at that fact. Gold on fire to the moon. I love it. PayPal, I got it at 182. Thought it was a very good entry. Yeah, I own a little bit of PayPal as well. So PayPal, this thing at 182, you said. Sorry, 189. That's not bad. That's not a bad hold. Like, depending on how much you went into it. The best way to look at it is like, hey, this is something, looking on the longer term side of things, we're coming into some levels here. Again, this green dotted line is the 144 EMA on the weekly side, okay? The weekly side, that's a very down here kind of aggressive kind of pattern here. Depending on what your time horizon is, I'm a longer term investor here, especially in PayPal. I had a lot of PayPal, but I got stopped out here. Basically, was it like here we go, around like the 230, 225 range. I can't remember what it was. And it stopped me out because it helped me protect from this potential downside here. Yeah, I could have made more if I sold it at 300, right? But I'm trading around a core position here. And I'm looking forward to kind of potentially start adding into it. If this like 192, 185 range kind of holds here, but again, just remember gold on fire too, to the moon. If the overall market wants to continue going lower or kind of sell off here, it's sadly going to take PayPal with it. It's not going to be immune to it. It's not going to be like a super stock and just kind of give it the finger and say, F you, market, I'm going to do what I want to do. Sometimes it can do that, but not PayPal. That's more like a Tesla kind of scenario. Looking for some levels of support here. It's going to be first coming in around that 175 to like the 169 range. Looking for that. Ethan, this is why Tesla going down. I'm going to get liquidated. I'm not laughing at you, but I don't know why Tesla's going down. I have no idea. Is it because there's so many things going on in the world? There's people wanting to sell it. There's no risk on environment for the larger hedge funds. Blah 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 blah. Insert your concern there. Looking for some initial support for Tesla around $900, basically, my friend. So $900 is that previous high that we saw way back when, meaning the beginning of this year. If we do a further zoom out on the 3-year chart on the weekly side, again, that level is pretty significant. That's falling into the 21 EMA on the weekly side. And then looking for continuously support, if it does come through, is around 823-ish range, which falls into the 34 EMA on the weekly side and that 76.8 percentile move in the 78.6, sorry, dyslexic here, level there around that blue dotted line there. Make it go up, please. I wish I could. I really wish I could. Let me call a couple of the boys on the exchange and see if they can pump up some bids for you. Just joking on that front. Just remember to have a plan, my friend. Don't try to just feel the pain. And the worst thing is I've been there. Trust me, I've been there, and I still do it. I still do it sometimes where I just hold on to something and I just believe in the story. I love Tesla. I love what they're doing. Their cars are fantastic. I'm all a cool story, but the stock is completely separate from my emotions, and I have to really be careful on that game there. Ike is asking for Microsoft. Yes. You see that article where people were upset about Bill Gates and they attacked the Apple store? Like, that was kind of funny. That was really funny. Anywho, Microsoft, very strong company we've seen here over the last coming weeks or months. Still, it's slightly above the 55 EMA here on the daily side. But again, we're talking about this whole kind of story here. If the overall market's going to be going lower here, it's definitely going to be taking Microsoft with it. So looking for some initial short-term support around 317. If that breaks, we could potentially fill this previous gap right here. So again, the gap, what we're looking at is right here. And we're going to be looking below 310. And that could be a pretty substantial downward move here, potentially to that lovely $300 range there in that fact, if we do see that selling kind of come through. On the positive note, if we just hold this bounce here around 320, we can definitely see this potentially trying to make its way back up here above 330 and maybe make its way up to all-time highs around 350 plus. But it's going to be highly tied to the overall NASDAQ and the tech sector of the market. You guys also asking about PSFE. Ooh. I don't know what this stock does, but that is not a good story, my friend. This is something this is a very downward trend here. It's not getting past the 55 EMA here. Looks like the earnings really took it out here. I'm not sure what the story is here, but that's just been beaten up too much for me, and not really seeing any kind of strength kind of come in here. Looks like it's a fairly new stock as well. Yeah, that's definitely, nothing to add there, my friend. Jonathan, what's up, my thoughts on Snap recovering? Really taking a beating down since the last earnings report. I know, but sadly, this Snap is tied to the growth stocks, and the growth stocks have been taking a beating due to potentially a risk-off environment and people really putting so much fear in these not just interest rates, but just lowering the taper. And I think it's just what the thing is, what people are talking about. Is it the Fed doing this? Is it Greece defaulting? It's a Turkish lira going through the roof and hyperinflation. It's just whatever the flavor of the week is just kind of adding to that effect. And especially with Snap, this thing is definitely going to beat the hell up, right? With that last earnings, has not found any kind of bottom here. It's potentially tried to find some support around $53 to $54 here, but that just kind of fell out due to the ongoing selling here. Now we're below 45. Look, trading around 42 of the low here. We're sitting at 45 and not seeing too much level support here on the daily side. So we're going to zoom all the way out to the weekly side, and we're not seeing too much support here as well here, potentially coming into that previous move here around $41 of support here. As you can see here, the moving averages are still aggressively pointing down here. So we're looking for this to potentially try to round out here. This would kind of, again, strictly understanding the overall market and how it affects Snap and vice versa. Like, this is just a tale of just like, hey, things are great, but the stock has just gotten too far ahead of itself. And we can kind of look at this chart here on the RSI where it actually didn't go too high, but things just really got away, especially in that last quarter. It really kind of sold off. I want to see on this, sorry, go this way. This chart here, where that downward move here, this is basically the 1, 2, 3 deviation moves here. So potentially looking for that deviation move way outside the line here. It needed to kind of come back to that 21 EMA here. But now it's looking for potentially, honestly, might even be going lower here on the fact of just like this negative selling pressure that we could see in the overall market. I'm also thinking about opening a position on Alibaba, hopefully at 110 range. What do you think about seeing that price market shakes down? Gold on fire, my friend. Like Alibaba or Alibaba is something that I can't get around it. If you want to throw a couple shekels at it, maybe 2 or 3% of the portfolio, not even 2%. I would be like 1, maybe 0.5%. Like, this is just something that has just been tanking, and the story of the stock has not been well here. Again, this has been looking for this continuously downward action here. This is something that has not been playing out well, and potentially, can it rebound? Yes. Can it go parabolic? Maybe. I don't know. This whole story here has not been seeing any kind of level of support here on the chart from my perspective. The one NVIDIA chart looks nasty. It's closed slightly below the 50 SMA. Yeah, NVIDIA does not look great as well here. Again, a lot of the people are requesting here are the growth stocks. So again, a lot of people follow the 50 moving average, the 200, the 20, and not just the reason of how something would close below that or around that level. Just look at the price of selling here, right? Okay, if we zoom in just the last, like, since November, look how many red days we've had in the past couple months for NVIDIA on the daily side here. Very high levels, and it's been slightly above the moving average, and that moving average is trailing the 21 simple on the average 21 days of the stock itself. And you can see here on the selling days, it's been highly elevated above the average levels here. So can this continue going lower? Maybe. We're looking for, if it fills this small gap here below 267, that could really kind of shrink it lower here. But it's all tied to the overall market, right, guys? Like, if that overall market decides to turn, guess what? NVIDIA and our best friend AMD is going to be going right with it. Just, yeah. Rise and Shine says PSTH. Yes. This is like Kathy Woodstock, right? Oh, no. Oh, Oh, yeah. Okay. This is the Ackman run. They were supposed to buy, Stripe. That's what everyone was suspecting, but they didn't. They bought this music deal, and that fell through, and this has been kind of a shit show, to say the least. and it's a SPAC, right? Like SPACs, I think are so much out of favor right now, and it just has not been a good taste in a lot of people's mouth. Yeah, nothing really much I can say here. Just look at the trading volume, and it just kind of going back down because I think it opened up at $20. Like it's a specially driven SPAC. Yeah, so $20 is where it's supposed to be sitting. So it has, I think, 2 years, maybe 3 years to make a deal. So hopefully the boys at Pershing Square can do something. By boys, I mean boys and girls and whoever else. NAO came out with a nice sedan wide tank. Wide tank, my friend, you have to understand the stock itself does not mean really much of anything to the company and what they bring out. Like it's in a basket. It's in a basket of EVs. It's in a basket of Chinese EVs, a very growth oriented stock, right? So if that basket gets too heavy or people want to sell it, some larger institutions, they're going to sell it and they're going to cut their losses or take their gains or like that. But NIO does not look at a healthy position, even though they came out with a car that unless the car like saved cancer, the stock wasn't going to be rallying on this kind of downward trending overall market. Because again, the whole story, the whole narrative is if the market's selling off or correcting, it's going to take everything really with it, right? And the first ones to really go are the growth stocks and things like that. So these are going to be the first ones on people's short list. Short list meaning not just a short, but just to take them off their books as quick as possible. Of course, this thing has been somewhat of a fall from grace as well here. Again, that $66 plus range coming all the way back down, breaking below 35 and now getting back down to $28 range here. This is something, again, this thing was like a $3 stock or something like that. I remember, that's insane. Potentially looking for some level of support here around 26.33 rise and shine here. If we can get kind of some substantial kind of level support in that range there, would be quite fancy for it to do that. But it does have a squeeze, and volume has been coming down here a little bit. Again, look at that accelerated volume because, again, it was like a high growth name. So it's just, again, not meaning it's a trash company, not putting any negative for NIO. I'm glad they're trying to achieve a great EV car. The stock itself is just kind of in a weird pattern here, potentially looking a little bit top heavy if the overall market can't support it. And hopefully that made sense for you, my friend. If you have any more further questions, please let me know. Ryan, if Ryan's listening, he's been talking about AVGO. I don't know how, this is the QCOM, the 5G, all this kind of movement. This thing has just been gangbusters here on a huge, massive quarter here, breaking up well above 618 here. Fantastic little round of applause for him there on that trade. That's been very, very good market move there. I'm surprised someone has asked about Apple as well. So Apple, very large market leader here again. Let me get rid of these levels here. Did sell off here coming to this last week due to the overall market is coming back a little bit, right? Look how high elevated this is. Look how far it is from the 8 EMA. That's not a normal procedure for Apple to be trading that high, like a $2 billion company or whatever it is at this point in range. This thing is very highly elevated due to a lot of these fears in the market of higher interest rates, tapering, slowing economy, for whatever reasons that people are fearing about. People are just taking some risk off. That's all it is. It's like money's not just like completely disappearing. They're putting it into other things. You saw it put in AVGO. We can look at QCOM, right? That thing has been trading well. That's well above the 8 EMA still. Another great one, GLD. Like, no, just joking. Gold hasn't done shit. What is the AMANT? Yeah. Applied Materials, another manufacturer here, has been doing very well. It is continuously going higher, so that's been doing well on that front. Bitcoin, not many people have asked about that. That's been kind of like they call Bitcoin like the overseer, or not the overseer. What's the word? The person that kind of tells the message before it happens. It's basically kind of being the fortune teller. You saw the market kind of peaked here at the November timeframe, and then it kind of sold off here as well. So that potentially could be the fortune market move there. Adobe, another large one that really took a large tank here again due to earnings, but it did bounce off pretty heavily off a trend line that you can see here, and potentially could see that maybe, again, it's all going to tie to the overall market and how that is interacting with all these kind of things here. But looking for, let's see what the Nasdaq's doing. Nasdaq's down, what is that? 0.66% now, going into that lower band of the range. This is definitely looking not the most healthiest, honestly. So this is going to be something where I'm just going to be taking my hands off the keyboard, off the mouse, and I'm just sitting them on my butt and not doing anything, and just watching, setting up alerts, and just being very, very patient, and not just jumping to conclusions, not just pulling the trigger, not just trying to buy something or trade because I have to, and just feel that inner demon inside my brain because I have to do something like that. This is just something it's something, again, I'm going to be talking a lot more about the psychology side of things, because that's what I really studied more in the market, and what I've learned the most is this is psychology. Anyone could put these charts together and see the 55 EMA, look at the volume averages, put a VWAP on there, whatever you're doing. You can trade off of that. It's all about what's inside your coconut head, right? Yeah, Oracle was a good one too, for sure, Kefty. I had Apple at 113, sold at 134. I only knew I would have kept half of my. Again, you don't know, right? You have to be pragmatic about it. You have to set up rules. Like, okay, for example, if you don't mind if I do, I had Apple as well. Like, I still have Apple. It's a core position of my longer term holding. So you bought it at, like you said, what, 113? Where's that at? It's not even on this chart here. Let me zoom all the way out. 113, you said. So yeah, you bought it here, potentially at these previous lows, went up all the way up to here, you got out, right? Then it pulled back. But guess what it did? It came right back down to the 2134 EMA here. Again, looking at the weekly side. Again, history doesn't repeat, it just rhymes sometimes. So it did come back down. It didn't touch the 21 EMA. Excuse me, got a little bit more sloppier, but it hit the 34 EMA, which I think is more significant level there, on my perspective. And seeing it bounce twice here, I got up with giddy and joy there, and I added to this here as well. And then seeing it run up to this 150 plus, selling a little bit there, coming back down to 21 EMA, added what I sold from that previous level here, and then now seeing it run up quite substantially here, and actually cut some here at 170 here, just because it was a little bit too far extended from the 8 EMA here. Which, when I start seeing a very large market cap company so far elevated from the 8 EMA, I get worried. Especially, this tells a good picture here on this chart here. This is, again, let me go to the weekly side. Once you start seeing this pattern here, especially on the weekly side, a stock break out of the third deviation move here, it has to somewhat come back down to earth, per se. It doesn't happen all the time. That was the split move there. That was an extraordinary move there. But now seeing that previous levels here to kind of hold those levels of support here around the third deviations, we're seeing that kind of come into play here at that level there. Ryan, what's up, my friend? What's up, dude? Are you owning Broadcom? I shouted you out. I saw that in the chat on Avago, AVGO Broadcom. Yeah, Costco, same kind of thing. So I took a little bit off the table here because it punctured the third deviation, right? I have to. It hurts to sell it. It's my little baby. I love my Costco. I love going to Costco. It's a treasure hunt. It's so much fun. The people giving out the samples. You're eating some good cheese. You're eating some good honey baked ham. You're eating. I had a taco the other day. I had orange chicken. Like I had a full. I went around the world experiencing great food and cuisine. At the same time, getting my fantastic water bottles. Costco, shout out, sponsor your boy Ken, and at the same time, having a grand old time, right? At cheap prices, like cheap prices that you can't beat. But you have to have a rule, honestly, Gold, on like when I want to sell, and how much I want to sell of it. So, for example, I sold about 15% of my holdings of Costco at around that 370 range. And that's what I want to be looking for. When will I add Costco back? When it starts making its way lower here below this 21 EMA. If the fundamental story is still intact and it's doing well, that's when I want to add, right? That's when I want to add. Those are on the longer term trading side. Those a lot of people just want to do intraday trading or day trading or trade for 2 or 3 days. That's not really my best cup of tea, to be quite honest with you. Oh, you like AVGO? Yeah, that's a monster. That's a monster. Pays a nice dividend, $4, but it's a $600 stock, so it's not really that significant. But yeah, this thing it's done next to nothing, and it just kind of really took off here. That's a beautiful looking chart there. But now getting into all-time highs, I bet you there's going to be a lot of, you can tell a lot of people are chasing this. If we go to the weekly side, look at that volume kick up there. It's huge volume the past 2 weeks on that. Again, they're buying it because they're like, we need growth. We need to continue having 15-20% years for these hedge funds or whatever. So they're just buying the stocks that have been performing very well. And what are your thoughts on Hertz? Hertz, right? Is that traded in the market now? Is this the one? HTZ? So Hertz, if you don't remember, USA, it's coming back from bankruptcy. They basically got $2 billion from their bankruptcy, and they decided to buy $100 million, or sorry, 100,000 model or Tesla's Model 3s. Of course, that was disproven. That's not that they are buying them, but they can't buy them at that quantity. And of course, Elon's like, we have not signed anything around that. And this is just, I don't want to categorize it as a meme stock. This is just something that is still trying to find its footing. This is just, I think a lot of people still have it in their brains and their cognitive abdul oblongata that they are just like, hey, this is the same Hertz that was $2 and now it's at $50. But the way it's structured, this is still the same $2 kind of stock here, and it hasn't really proved itself. The one that I would like to see go higher is Avis. Look at this one. Yeah, this is insane, right? This is a daily chart. This thing went from, this is a short squeeze right here that we've ever seen here. This thing is definitely coming back down to earth here. Looking here at that deviation move here, look at that huge, that's on the weekly side. Let me go to the daily side. The huge puncture of that 3 deviation channel there, right here. And now it's kind of coming back to the 21 EMA and even lower. Oh my gosh, raise your hand if you remember NAT. Remember NAT? Yeah, I remember NAT. I shorted this piece of shit at $9. I wasn't able to get it at 9, but I got it around 8 something, and that shorted continued going down. I got so much BS from people saying, oh, it's going back to 10. It's a fantastic stock. No, it's not. It's not. The way the structure of this company and the way the shipping industry works, you have to understand that. You can't just be like, because this guy on XYZ channel or someone on CNBC said it's going to the roof, they're just speaking their book, right? I'm speaking my book. If I said I'm shorting it, yes, but you have to do your own homework and your own research and understand on of how these things work, right? these again, that oil. Remember that oil when oil went like completely so cheap and it went negative and things like that. This thing went through the roof, right? We did. It was a completely way out of left field. What the hell kind of scenario move? And then it just continued going lower here. Again, it wasn't. It didn't just all fall at once. It just slowly ticked lower here. And guess what? We're back below $2 here, where we were before. So keep in mind to keep this in your coconut head. If we do see oil going so low where they need to find storage, NAT is your man, right? NAT, though, that's a great trade there potentially. So this is why it's so important to have many years in the market. You start seeing patterns, you live through different cycles, you experience the world, all this kind of things. It's gonna kind of be like a buffet of the stock market. Like if you just had the single buffet of 2020 and 2021, that's a very small buffet. You basically just ate at like a Americanized buffet. You didn't have the really good shellfish platter. You didn't have the custom dessert platter. They didn't even have a breakfast bar, an omelet bar at that buffet. Like you needed to experience more. And I think a lot of people are coming into fruition where they're seeing, experiencing a lot more. It looks like we're nearly down 1% here. I think Bear is getting pretty giddy in the chat here. He's getting all happy. But we'll see how this one plays out. I know I've been ranting and raving for a little bit over an hour now. I do want to appreciate everyone for coming out and watching on their Sunday evening. I really do. It does mean a lot to me. If you want to see more stuff, please let me know. I want to try to put it more on the agenda to kind of keep more people in check. I do want to go get deeper into the philosophy, not the philosophy, but the psychology of things, because I think that's the one of the more important concepts in trading and investing is just the mindset. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll catch you guys on the next side. Peace.